and he's loose again. Edwards off the running. Like the back down to Edwards. They hand it off to Johnson. Boise State has won. Right now, and they take the downfield shot. And the catch is made. It's Riley Williams. Goes for the free. Touchdown. Going for the corner.
Welcome back to another episode of the Gridiron Censored. Thank you for joining us and listening. We appreciate you. I'm Trevor. Blake is with us. We are without Brendan once again, because he's a slacker and wants to take vacations with his family, I guess.
Boo.
Boo. I will let him have it. But anyway, we're as you saw on the screen, we're getting into NC State tonight. And we'll just dive into it right away. I'm excited to talk about these guys actually a little bit. So let's talk about their 2024 campaign and how that fared for them. Well, I mean, they had an okay season, I guess. They did not have what I would think is a successful NC State season, in my opinion. I know all three of us were really high on them last year in preseason, where we had them at a 10-win plus team, or I think I did, at least. I know I did. I had them at 10 wins last preseason, and they did not do that at all.
A lot of people. It wasn't just us.
Yeah, it wasn't just us. There was a lot of pundits, as they say.
There's a lot of people had them.
We're thinking NC State was going to be something, and they were. Sorry to say, but they were a bit of a flop.
Yeah.
I mean, as you can see on the screen, if you're not watching, you're listening on the Spotify, they lost. They won against Western Carolina. Congratulations. But they lost. They opened it up with their first loss against Tennessee. Got blown out by them. They beat the teams that they probably should have beat, and they lost to everybody else. So yeah, I mean, altogether, I mean, losing to East Carolina Pirates in the bowl game is just a slap in the flipping face, NC State fans. And I welcome all of the NC State fans that want to talk and conversate with us. Jump into our YouTube channel,
Please.
Throw the comments up there. We'll happily talk to you about this, because I will say this, and we're about to dive into coaches here, but I'm going to say this right out the gate: is Dorian, this is it. This is what you got. Dave Dorian, you got one season to figure it the F out, because you've had 13, right? 13? Right? I thought I said
Seasons.
Yeah, 13. Yeah. I think he's on his 13th season or something like that with these guys. Yeah, 13th year as NC State coach, and all of them have not – I don't want to say all of them because I haven't looked at everything, but most of them have not eclipsed 10 wins. And I'm sorry, but I feel like NC State is built as a school and as a program and as a fan base to be a 10-win team at minimum, and potentially a playoff team, which is what we thought they were going to be last year. So just dive into it real quick. They have Kurt Roper being promoted from the quarterback's coach, he was the quarterback's coach for the last 2 years, to OC. I feel like it's I think it's an okay move. He hasn't been an OC since he was the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at South Carolina, which was a few years ago. But he has done pretty well with the quarterbacks, except for, I mean, I don't mean to dog the guy, but I mean, the quarterback play last year was not there. And then they have DJ Elliott coming in as the new DC. He was in 2022. He was the DC at Temple. He had a really good defense at Temple in 2022. I mean, they were ranked in 8th in the country in sacks per game at 3.2, 9th in tackles for loss per game at 7.3, 24th in passing yards per game at 198.6, which all is not that bad. Sorry if you guys see tails wagging behind me. I got dogs just wandering. They're just wandering like crazy. They don't care about none of this. But yeah, I mean, those are my highlights. Blake, you got any tidbits on the coaching staff, or you want to say anything about Dorian's lack of production?
Yeah, I will. I have I have been gauging the fans on Twitter of NC State, and I see a split. I see the faithful, and hey, he wins 8 games consistently. Blah blah blah. They're happy with him. It was a bad year, whatever. And then I have ones who have higher expectations, which is where I fall. I'm not happy with just 8, 9. I want to win. And I don't see why people get so butthurt about that. It's not a personal attack on the guy, but he has had talent over the years and multiple opportunities to make a run on a national scale. And he has got up there and had some 10-win seasons. He's had some really good teams, and he's won some huge games. To me, this far into it, if I'm a fan of NC State, if he doesn't win 10 games, I want a different coach. Like, I'm ready to make that jump to the next level, and he's just not getting me there.
Yeah,
and that's all I really got to say about him.
Yep. And we'll probably get into it sometime during the season if they're not having a good season. We'll probably get into potential coaches that they could go after, whether it be OCs or whatever. We'll probably get into that on a reaction show if they have a bad game, or if they're halfway through the season and they haven't won a game or whatever. But yeah, I'm with you though. I really am with you, because Dave Dorian has had plenty of opportunities, but you're right. He has had plenty of talent. And last year was that. I thought he had plenty of talent last year to compete in every game.
Yep.
And I don't even know if it's a lack of preparation, or I couldn't put my finger on why they weren't competing at a higher level. I get losing to Tennessee. I get that part.
Yeah.
Because Tennessee was a pretty solid squad last year kind of.
They beat Alabama.
They beat Alabama. I mean, they did well. They did well.
I hate Tennessee. So if I can say it, you can say it.
Not a fan. Not a fan. But no, I just feel like there's got to be a change at some point in time. At what point do you pull the ripcord and start fresh? I mean, 13 seasons is plenty enough time to build a pipeline of recruits, pipeline of talent, and I just feel like he's got to do something.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some of that talent.
Yeah, let's get into the talent. We'll dive into that right about meow.
No,
that didn't hit. That did not. That missed on every mark. Anyway, let's dive into the transfer portal. So, transfer wise, they were 57th ranked this season. They had a 47th ranked recruiting class, but a composite rank landed them at the 34th overall composite ranking, which isn't bad. No doubt about that. A couple impact players from their portal class. I feel like obviously the offensive lineman Whitset out of I didn't go down far enough. My bad. God bless it. Whitset is the recruit that I thought would be a potential immediate impact freshman offensive tackle. But that being said, they have a lot of good's a strong word. I like some of their defensive players. They definitely went defensive heavy, I feel like, within the linebackers and corners. And potentially some safeties. They only had a couple edge rushers that they got, which is fine. But Blake, honestly, my biggest problem with the transfer portal is there's not very many interior anything.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned edge rushers, and that is one. I know they didn't have many of them, but one of them that they got, Joseph Adedire, I think he's going to be an absolute man. Yep. He's a monster, and I think he can make an immediate impact. But yeah, to me, their biggest problem last year was quarterback play. And yes. I think this year, CJ Bailey, he just needed time. He got put in as a true freshman, and I mean, he did what was asked of him. He threw for 2,400 yards, 17 touchdowns, but the 10 interceptions. And a lot of that's just he's new. He got thrown into it and said, let's see what you got. And he did fairly well. I'm not going to take anything away from him. I think he's a star in the making. And I think they got some talent on the outside to help him out this year. Transfer portal wise, though, I mean, it was decent. Nothing really stuck out to me as far as just being like a massive get. But
a lot of role players, a lot of potential plug-in players,
yeah,
or rotational players, if you will. But I don't. Like you said, yeah, I agree. There's not something that just knocks your socks off that they got them.
Yeah, to me, I think Adedire is a great pickup. And they got a couple of guys, but just nothing really that sticks out to me that makes me say this is a 10-win team.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know. Now just returning players, they do have some guys down there that are going to be impact players. And if you unless you have something else on the portal, I can get into there.
No, I was just going to mention that the portal wise, not particularly, but I do think that they do have a couple big gets as far as recruits, as freshmen. They got an athlete Boulder out of North Carolina, looks to be pretty good. Spike Souls out of Louisville, looks to be one of the better pickups that they've had in a while at an interior offensive lineman. But again, I am super concerned about their defensive side of the ball. And the reason I say that is because right now, NC State is 61% returning production overall, 57%. 50% is returning on defense, and offensive production 66%, which is about 35%, ranked 35 in the nation, which is actually better than most.
Yeah.
So yeah, Blake, if you want to go into some returning players that you want to talk about, go ahead and hit that right now.
So I'll just start with my biggest concern for this team is on the defensive side of the ball, where they lost 4 defensive backs. They're going to be relying on some of these guys coming in and making immediate impacts. And I mean, that's, to me, when you're in the ACC, they've got some solid offenses. That's a lot to ask, especially for that to be practically the entire back end of your defense.
Right.
I mean, you got to have people that you can rely on, that they've got to come in and gel immediately. And fortunately, which we will get into the schedule, I do think it's in their favor. They will have plenty of time for some of these guys to get together and mesh. But just looking at their offense real quick, they've got CJ Bailey, who I've talked about already. Then they got Hollywood Smothers coming back. And I think this dude is going to be an absolute, a highlight reel. And the fans feel the same way. Several polls on Twitter, they think he's I've seen him as a dark horse Heisman candidate. I don't know that I would throw him in there yet, but I've seen film on this guy, and he's a beast. Wide receiver wise, they've got Noah Rogers, Wesley Grimes, and then Justin Jolly, tight end, huge tight end. He led the team in receptions. Up front, though, they lost 3 out of 5 starters on the line. They did add 4 coming in from the portal, but again, that goes to the whole these guys have to, especially with the offensive line, you have to mesh and gel with each other. And sometimes it takes 4 or 5 games moving them around. Fortunately, when we get to the schedule, I think they've got time to do that. But yeah, impact players, I've got 2. And obviously, Hollywood Smothers at running back. He can catch out of the backfield. I mean, he'll be another receiving threat. And then coming in, we've got Trey Thomas, an edge rusher, absolute phenom on the edge. I think he will be in the backfield. I think it'll help this line out, the D line out a lot.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So if you were to pick a position group that you have concerns about, what position group do you think that would be?
If I had to narrow it down to one, I would say on the offensive side of the ball, I'd go the line. Defensive side, I'd go the secondary. But if I had to pick one of the two, I would say the secondary, because I don't think the guys that they have coming in out of the portal, I don't think that they are of the same caliber on the offensive side that the line picked up. I think on the offensive line, they got some absolute dogs coming in, but it's just a matter of do they work well together?
Yeah, do they mesh? Yeah, and if I was to say pick a position group, and I know I'm going to get some backlash for that because they have a few returning starters, is the defensive line.
Yeah.
The only reason I say that is because there's lack of depth.
Yeah.
At the defensive line spot.
Yeah.
I know they brought in edge rushers. That's great, but defensive tackles are pivotal. They're pivotal to any defensive line.
Yeah.
You can have all the edge rushers you want, but the defensive tackles and the lack of depth, I feel like, could potentially become a problem.
Well, in reality,
as the season goes along, yeah.
Well, a lot of people too, they're banking on CJ Bailey panning out and just being a phenomenal quarterback.
Yeah.
We don't know. I mean, he may come out and be just like he was last year. I do think he will be more settled, but he showed flashes last year, and I do think he will ultimately pan out. But it's one of those things. How many quarterbacks did we see this past season? They were good the year before or decent, and you expect them to improve, and they just don't.
Yeah.
You know, it happens all the times. Like look at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just don't pan out. And this could be that.
And honestly, I mean, it kind of could go either way. Even if he had a good season last year, you don't know what kind of quarter. Just because he had a good season last year does not mean he's going to have another good season.
Absolutely.
AKA Cam Rising. I'm just saying, like, just because he was good a few years doesn't mean he's going to consistently be that good.
100%.
There is a fall off with college football players at some point in time, usually.
100%. So if I just had to give a quick, overall view, keys to the season for NC State, I do think talent is there. I do think opportunities to have a 9 or 10 win season, I think it's there. But it hedges on good quarterback play. The offensive line, they're going to have a few. Can you pull the schedule up?
Yep. Yeah, we'll start talking about the schedule right now.
So the ECU, they're playing them after getting smoked by them last year.
Mm-hmm.
This is big. You get past that, you've got Virginia, Wake Forest, Duke, and then you've got Virginia Tech. I think is going to be, and not to undermine Duke because I think Duke's got a good team, but I think they're equal to NC State. Virginia Tech, I think, is going to be more of a larger talent gap, but it is a beatable team, and they got 4 to 5 weeks to really get that line together and get them working. And I think if they have a solid offensive line, this offense can move. I think they'll be able to score with anybody. It's just that back end on the defense, that's what they really need to step up and work well together. Because if they do, I mean, you could be undefeated going into the Notre Dame game. And after that, I mean, the schedule's not horrible. I would say Georgia Tech's a tough one. At Miami's a tough one. All the other games every game's a winnable game for this team. But I would say that the Georgia Tech and Miami games are probably going to be their toughest. Getting to avoid Clemson's huge. So that's why I say regarding the head coach being on the hot seat, this year the schedule really works in your favor, and I think you're primed with the talent to make an impact. So we'll see what happens with it.
So as regards to the schedule, they have it over under at 6 even. So I mean that's definitely possible, and I love the fact for NC State that they don't have to leave the state of North Carolina until October 11th to go to Indiana and play Notre Dame. Like you gotta love that as an NC State fan, that your team gets basically not necessarily home games, but I mean they don't have to travel very far to go play these games.
Right. They only leave the state 3 times the whole season.
That's right. But I'm gonna say one more thing is that my problem with this schedule is that you may be undefeated going into that Indiana game, but I am very concerned, starting with Notre Dame, that you could rattle off 4 losses in a row easily.
Oh, yeah.
With Pitt being as strong as they are, and they're the next episode that we're going to be doing is that we're going to be talking about Pitt, but they are a strong team with strong returning starters.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech is a strong team. Miami's always tough. Florida State, we're not going to talk about them, and then North Carolina. Sorry, had to throw a jab.
Had to do it.
Throw a jab. But no. Florida State's probably going to be a bit retooled as well, and they'll be they'll do, especially being a nighttime game in Raleigh. That's benefit to you guys to have them coming in as opposed to having to go down to Florida to play them.
Yeah.
Overall, Blake, what do you think? Floor and ceiling, what do you got?
Ceiling, I'm going to say, if everything goes well, I think they can get to 10 wins. The floor, I think that the over-under is their floor. I could see them. I think 6 is the worst they do. I really believe I'm taking the over on this team, and I'm going to say they get 8 wins.
God bless it.
You don't like that.
I don't want to do it. I'm going to freaking do it to you probably. Look, the floor is 6 wins. Like if you can't manage 6 wins with this schedule and how nice it actually lines up for you as far as not having to leave the state of North Carolina, I mean, what else do you want? But the ceiling, in my opinion, will be probably 10 wins.
Yep.
And that is saying a lot of things go right for NC State.
Yep.
In a lot of these games. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, a lot of the college football games last season came down to 1-2 possessions, and that was it.
Well, like, for me, I think Notre Dame is obviously a challenge. I think Virginia Tech's a challenge. Miami with Carson Beck. I think those 3 are the ones that I look at and I go, okay, best versus best. Hell, I'd even say the Notre Dame and Georgia Tech, or not Georgia, Miami. I would almost chalk those up, and that's where they get their 10. But like Pitt.
So for me, Pitt is an L for me. I think Pitt is just super talented.
I agree.
Now that being said, I was a naysayer last season, and they just went. They did all right, but they did not finish well. But they have that had a whole lot to do with more or less their quarterback getting injured more so than anything else.
Well, defensively too, like with Pitt. That's why I'm kind of leaning NC State in that game.
Yeah,
just because I need to see it out of their defense.
I agree with you completely. But like that stretch, even with those off weeks, it's going to be rough. It's just a rough ending to the season in general. With Notre Dame starting it off, and then you get Pitt, Georgia Tech, all potential if they have a season like we think they might be able to. All of which could all the way running down from October 11th all the way down potentially could be in the running for an ACC championship.
Yep.
At that point in time of the season. North Carolina is a big question mark for us. We just covered them, but I mean, it's still, there's a whole lot of question marks with that team, Florida State. And I would even say probably Pitt a little bit too. There's a few question marks with that team as well. But yeah, I think I'm going to take the over as well. Just like you, I think that this team is built well enough to where they can perform well enough to get at least 7 wins, I think.
I agree.
All right. I think that pretty much does it for NC State. Blake, you got anything else?
I don't. I think we did.
All right. Thank you for listening, everybody. Like, follow, subscribe. Don't forget to share with your friends and fellow NC State Wolfpack fans. And if we missed anything, or if you want to mention anything about some players that you're excited about, throw those into the comments down below on our YouTube channel. We'll respond if you have questions, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
See you.